All right, what's up everyone? Still down here in Florida. I'm getting my boat. I'm getting some updates to my motor. So I figured while I had him down here in my motor, I'd get that done. Then I'm gonna be heading off. What I wanted to do today was, I'm gonna make this 2 short videos. Basically, I'm gonna have a video about my practice and a video about my 2 days of the Open, and I'm just going to combine the two. I'm not going to draw it out as every day stuff like that, you know, every day of the Bassmaster Open, day 1, day 2. I'll probably just combine them, and the reason I'm going to do that is I really wanted to share with y'all not just fish catches, you know, or practice stuff. Like, I'm going to kind of go through and kind of show you a little bit about what I was doing, but I really just want to talk about it. A lot went on in this tournament. Very horrible practice for me. I ended up kind of doing a little bit better, and I actually got better as the tournament went on, and really started figuring them out. But there's some really cool things that happened that I think you can really learn from what happened in practice to what happened in the tournament, and how quickly the fish changed, and how I was able to kind of figure it out, and it, you know, ended up coming in 26th place, got a pretty good little check, and got my points, because that's really the main goal, was to get points to try to make the elites. So I'll share with that now, and I'll kind of explain what happened in my 3 to 4 days of practice, and then, like I said, during the tournament, I'll kind of explain that later. So practice, when I get down here real quick, I was really excited. It's been really warm, so I was thinking I was going to get to do some sight fishing and stuff, and I went out there to look and fish grass and do all this stuff, mainly, you know, I knew I was going to have to fish grass in the morning time, you know, while the bite was good, and then go look during the middle of the day and practice. Well, I went and did that. My first day of practice was horrible. Didn't get any fish hardly in the grass, like none. I had one bite, and then went and looked and saw no fish on beds, like 0. I had 2 little bites all day long, and that was my entire day 1. Day 2, I went down to Kissimmee, and I started looking around for just places to fish. Like, I didn't know if I was gonna fish grass, pads. I mean, I was just gonna fish whatever. Got in some areas. The first area I went to, I caught one right off the bat. But there was no grass there. I was in not panic mode, but man, I didn't really know, man. It's so much going on. I didn't know what to think. Pounder, 3.5. The next spot I went to was, I caught quite a few there, like 3 or 4 or 5 really quick, and then And then I left it real quick because I was like, well, man, maybe this is good everywhere. So the next spot I went to looked perfect. And I'll show you what that place, like I fished and fished and fished and it looked great. And I ended up catching 3, but it took. Well, a new turn of events. This might not mean much to you, but it's a big deal, and I'll tell you why. Got one on. It's a really big deal. That's back to back. But it took me like 3 hours to do it. I left and ended up doing some other stuff, and you can see I actually at the end of the day kind of go down this bank, which ended up being pretty key. Not the bank, but what I was doing. I was throwing a Strike King cutter worm, the big one, and I ended up catching pretty much my biggest fish of practice. It was getting better. I think I figured it out. Put on a cutter tail. Not a bad one. Like a 4.5 pounder. On day 3, I go back to Toho, and I fish the grass, and I just go looking. And I ended up finding like 3 fish on beds. They were decent ones, no giants, but I still didn't think it was going on. I mean, I looked all day, and this place is so big, it's just hard to do everything. And even though I was looking and I was trying to, even though I found some, it wasn't so much that I found some, it's just like, man, I wasn't going to find just a couple and take my chances on whether or not I get a good boat draw. and I did not get a good boat draw. So I don't think I would have been able to go to any of them anyways. So I just didn't want to bet my whole tournament on that, and just there wasn't enough of them up there to really bet on that. So I knew I had to pretty much just get rid of the sight fishing. So that was pretty much a wasted day again. Those are hard to handle, just wasted days of practice. So day 4, I only got like a half a day. I went back to Kissimmee, started in a new spot, and you'll see like I kind of catch them pretty quick there, but everything looked right. And from there, I kind of messed around some other places, and I went back to the other place where I was catching them. And that place, I got bit again there. So now I had 3 areas and maybe a 4th. I knew I was going to start in that area that I found the last day of practice, and then I was going to go straight to this other area I found the first day, right? And then I had these other 2 areas that like might hold a fish or 2. And I actually talked to Hallman about, you know, what we thought was the best way. Like I always knew the hydrilla. My deal was the hydrilla deal. I didn't really figure out the flipping the pad thing. I tried doing it. I had 1 bite in practice. I think it was a big one, and that was it. So that was my practice day. As you can see in what I was doing is I had a grass deal in the morning time, and then I had to figure out how to catch them. It was either down the bank and catch some like that, or kind of flip it around the pads. The other thing I was going to do was kind of halfway flip pads and just kind of mess around these areas. And I've learned in Florida, if you get bit, just start messing around the areas. I mean, you just got to figure out how to catch them. And that's kind of what I figured out. And then I was like, man, if I have to, I might go back to Toho and sight fish for the last hour or 2. That was my game plan. I really was going to base that on the weather. And as you'll see for my Toho, or for my tournament dates, I'll kind of explain what happened. So like I said, all that was going on. I don't think any fish in Kissimmee were really on beds that well. I think they were just getting there, but it really wasn't that great going on. I thought most of it was, I don't even want to call it a pre-spawn deal. It was like fish were almost set up pre-spawn, but they were like in that transition of that 2 or 3 days where they're moving. And it's weird, I've seen this before, like that's when the fishing's the worst. Like they're not on beds and they're not staging anymore. They're literally moving from one stage to the next. And when you find them in that transition, it's a nightmare. So I think we hit it that time, but I'll talk about that in the next video. Like I said, you can see how I practiced, you can see what I did, and how my game plan, and if you almost need to watch this video to understand what I did to practice, and then see how I changed come tournament time. I started off doing it, but as the tournament kept progressing, I slowly started to change, and it was really cool. You can almost see the transformation in the tournament when it really clicked in. So hopefully you'll get to see the next video. I'll put them back to back.